Obviously, some of this will regress to the mean in a positive way. These guys are going to hit. They've hit their whole careers. Welcome, everyone, to the Monday edition of Fair Territory. As always, we have plenty to discuss. A major injury, a surprising turn of events in the NL West, and even a fan ripping a ball out of a superstar's glove. All that and more, as well as inside my manager's column that is published today. But let's start off with the injury that I previously mentioned, the one to Justin Steele. He is out for the season, the Cubs left-hander, and it's an elbow injury. It's an elbow operation. We don't know exactly the specifics yet. Will it be a Tommy John surgery? Will it be an internal brace procedure? It doesn't matter. He's out for the year. Actually, it does matter long-term, but in terms of this season, no, he is out, and that is going to seriously affect, of course, the Cubs' chances. Steele is their ace. He is a bulldog. He is a guy you want out there, someone who has kind of come out of nowhere in recent years to become one of the game's better left-handed pitchers. But I am here to suggest that this is hardly disastrous for the Cubs, and I'm going to show you why by looking at their rotation as it currently exists and as it might exist as the season goes forward. As it currently exists, it's still pretty good, even without Justin Steele. You see Shota Imanaga, Jameson Taillon, Matthew Boyd, the emerging Ben Brown, and Colin Ray, who can hold down a rotation spot until perhaps, as you see there on the additional options, Javier Assad is ready to come back. And they also have Jordan Wicks at Iowa and Cade Horton. Those two guys maybe later in the season. The other thing about the Cubs, and really the most surprising thing about the Cubs so far in this young season, is their offense. Their offense leads the major leagues in runs per game. And yes, they put up 16 on the Dodgers Saturday night, and that's one reason they're in the top spot. But even if you take out those 16 runs, they would be second in the major leagues in runs per game. So the Cubs, yes, this definitely is a major setback. You never want to lose your ace. But they still have a very good team. Kyle Tucker is performing at an MVP level. They're still going to be quite an interesting team to watch all summer long. For more on the Steele injury fallout, Northside Territory covers where the Cubs go from here. The Athletic's Patrick Mooney and Sahadev Sharma host. Stay in the know with the latest episode out now. Subscribe and rate 5 stars to the entire Foul Territory network. Now, in the NL West, I mentioned the surprising turn of events. And why is it surprising? Because everyone's favorite super team, the team that was ruining the sport, the team that could not be beat, oh my gosh, they were 8-0, they were never going to lose again. They're 3-6 since their 8-0 start. And I'm referring, of course, to the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is a team with a run differential right now of 0. Well, that's because of Saturday's 16-0 loss, but a team not without problems. Miguel Rojas pitched 2 innings in that game on Saturday night. That's just one of those freak things that occurs during the course of the season. But here we are, 2 weeks into the season. The Dodgers already are scrambling for starters, with Blake Snell joining Clayton Kershaw on the injured list, as well as Tony Gonsolin, and with Shohei Ohtani not yet ready to start this season. They also have some issues at the bottom of the order. So what is going on here in the rest of the division? That is what is really interesting. Let's look at the National League West standings right now because they're quite surprising. San Diego Padres, top of the division, 13-3. San Francisco Giants, second place, 11-4. Then you have the Dodgers at 11-6, the Diamondbacks at 9-7, and the Rockies at 3-12. Now, the Padres certainly qualify as a bit of a surprise, simply based on their offseason and the fact that they lost a lot and didn't really gain a lot. This is a team that we talked about all offseason as one that might trade potential free agents such as Dylan Cease and Michael King and Luis Ariz. They did nothing of the sort, but at the same time, their additions were for the most part relatively modest. I want to show you what they lost and what they gained. What they lost was significant. Profar and Kim, Higashioka, who hit a lot of home runs for them last year, 2 really good bench players, Solano and Peralta. What they gained? Nick Pivetta, that was their biggest addition. Then they got Jason Hayward and Connor Joe on $1 million one-year deals. Elias Diaz, a catcher, okay. And then 4 minor league contracts. Gavin Sheets, who has been a major surprise for them. Martin Maldonado, Yuli Gurriel, and Jose Iglesias. What this team has done so far is pitch really well. And I know they played the Rockies this weekend and they had those shutouts, but my goodness, they've been outstanding even without Yu Darvish. Michael King looks like a legitimate ace. Randy Vasquez has been really good, and their bullpen, especially the back end, has been lights out. So the Padres, I wouldn't say they're a better team than we thought necessarily because they were really good at the end of last year. But with the Dodgers doing so much this offseason, with the Giants doing at least some significant things, you didn't really see the Padres necessarily in the same light as before, and yet here they are with Tatis playing at an MVP level, and early in the season, a team just emerging as a real force. The Giants are the biggest surprise. Now, the Giants didn't really do much in the offseason, did they? Yes, they added Willy Adames. He hasn't done much in the early going. Justin Verlander, he's been just okay so far as well. Yet this team has gone from Farhan Zaidi as the head of their baseball operations to Buster Posey. Jung-Hoo Lee is healthy. He's playing like an MVP candidate too. And they just have a different way about them. They've pitched well. Their back end of the bullpen has settled in nicely. They are a team that is obviously better than we all thought. And it's going to be really interesting to track them this year and to see if this holds up. Because what has happened here is, yes, a different culture that has emerged. Less of a laboratory experiment, if you want to call it that, more of a baseball pure kind of environment. Now, I'm not ripping Farhan Zaidi. I'm just saying this is a different approach. They have been very adamant under Posey about being much more stable in their lineup, much more stable with their roster. This is a team, this will surprise you, that has not made a single roster move so far this season. Not one. Now, that's partly due to luck, of course, with injuries, but it's interesting, too, that they are settling in this fashion. So the Giants and the Padres emerging as, at least in the early season, legitimate threats to the Dodgers. And, I don't think the sport is collapsing just yet because the Dodgers are spending all of that money. We'll be back after a quick word from our friends at Foul Territory.
Hair thinning is very common, very frustrating problem that many men deal with. From stress and nutrition to hormones to lifestyle, so many internal factors affect what you see on the outside. Luckily, Nutrafol is here to help.
Thinning hair is different for men and women, so a one-size-fits-all approach to their hair growth doesn't cut it. Nutrafol has multiple formulas for men and women that are tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code FOUL. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code FOUL.
And finally this weekend, a play that occurred in Houston. A play that bore resemblance to Mookie Betts' catch in the World Series last year at Yankee Stadium when he was basically nearly assaulted by 2 Yankee fans. This one was much more mild in the way it was executed, but Mike Trout, playing right field, went into the stands to catch a ball, a foul ball, and a fan basically took the ball out of his glove. Now, the difference here, to me, from other plays of this nature, is that Trout caught the ball. Now, I know the rule is once you go into the stands, it's fair game. Fan can do whatever they want, and if you catch the ball, you catch it. If you don't, you don't. But Trout caught the ball, and the fan clearly took it out of his glove. In this particular situation, in my opinion, common sense should have applied. That batter was out, should have been out, and obviously at that point, you have a different scenario. Now, the inning proceeded the same way. Nothing changed. The batter made out. It was the third out of the inning. All good. And what was really interesting was the fan's reaction to Trout. That fan immediately knew he had done something that was not great. He immediately started apologizing. He almost seemingly wanted to give the ball back. And then after the game, Trout and the fan had this encounter. So here's Mike Trout talking to the fan, shaking his hand, meeting his son. And what Trout said, we don't have the audio here, but what he said was, hey, what you guys did, or what Dad did, in reacting and apologizing, that was what it was all about. That was really cool to Mike Trout, and for that reason, Trout had no problem with anything. The fan said to Trout, hey, I'm glad the game wasn't affected in any way. It just spoke really well, in my opinion, of Mike Trout to react as classily as he did to the whole scenario. We've seen players react in different ways to these kinds of plays over the years. Now, in this case, the fan did not physically endanger Trout in any way, did not pull on his arm or hit him or anything like that. So that was a little bit different, of course. But the fans' reaction, Trout's reaction, that all was good. We need to figure out a way, though, to call that play an out. Time now for the Inside Dish, the part of the show where I talk about maybe something I've written, a trend going on in the game, something else entirely. And today I want to take readers back on a little journey to memory lane. And I've written before about the curse of Samuel Joseph. Samuel Joseph is my son. He was born on May 21st, 1991. And faithful readers will know, I've written about this before, that on the first 3 days of Sam's life, May 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, a big league manager was fired. First, it was John Wathan in Kansas City. Then it was Don Zimmer in Chicago. And then it was Frank Robinson in Baltimore at a time when I was covering the Orioles. Now, Jerome Holtzman of the Chicago Tribune, the late, great Jerome Holtzman, wrote a column about this whole scenario, and he called it The Curse of Samuel Joseph. And he led the column by saying, every day of his life, a big league manager has been fired. Sam at that point was then immortalized in Baltimore Magazine as this kid with these unusual mystical powers. And then over the years, in the 90s and the 2000s, even the 2010s, around May 20th, about a quarter way into the season, you'd start to see managers getting fired. That was just the kind of timing that would go on. Enough games have been played in the opinions of most teams to make a change if they thought a change was warranted. Now, Sam's going to be 34 next month, and times have changed. In baseball today, we live in sort of an age of collaboration where the front offices and statistical analysts have a lot to say in the shaping of rosters, in-game decisions, not in the moment necessarily, but just in the way lineups are structured. It's a collaborative process in many cases. So what has changed is that you don't often see firings early in the season. Basically, teams are deliberate and trying to remove emotion from their decision-making. They don't want to be reactionary. They want to be deliberate. As I said, they want to be thorough in their processes. We hear this all the time. So teams generally don't make a move until after the All-Star break, if they make a move at all during the season. It's been the trend in the game in recent years. And I wrote about this whole scenario today in my column in The Athletic, and I listed 9 managers who, by the end of the season, could be in jeopardy. Derek Shelton is one of them. You see him there. There is a whole list I've got in there. Rocco Baldelli is on that list, Ollie Marmol, and I can go through the whole thing, but better you read the column than me just go through it here. Now, this is not a story that I particularly relish writing. I know all of these managers. I know all the GMs, of course. It's my job to know these people, and I have relationships with all of them. But the reality of the game is that managers get fired, GMs get fired, and in our work at The Athletic, in my work, in all of our work, we try to give context to things that are going on, and we try to give insight into stories that could develop in many cases before they happen. We want people not to be surprised, our readers. We don't want them to be surprised by something that might take place. Now, that is impossible to achieve at all times. The game on the field is particularly full of wonder and twists and turns that are unexpected. And off the field, it's often that way as well. But the context in this day and age, especially when you don't have a lot of context out there, in my opinion, that's really important. It's important to give before something might occur, and it's important to give, really important to give after something might occur. So that is why I write this story from time to time. Usually I write it maybe at the beginning of the season, and I'll write one toward the end as well sometimes. Now, sometimes I'll do GMs, sometimes I'll do managers. Much more often managers, though, because GMs do not get fired as frequently. And it's a column that obviously will get a lot of commentary, and people obviously are going to have a lot of opinions about the managers of their favorite teams. But I often find that fans don't necessarily judge a manager for the right reasons. What fans dwell on often, and what we do too in the media, are in-game decisions. Did this decision work out? Did it not? Classic example, Nestor Cortez Jr. coming in the World Series last year in Game 1. That was a decision that actually could be second-guessed at the time, first-guessed at the time, and did not work out. Had it worked out, we wouldn't be talking about it today. But for the most part, in-game decisions are not how you judge a manager. They can go either way, and that's why they're not a great basis for looking at someone and evaluating them. What I look at, and what I think people in the game look at for the most part, are the way the team is performing. Is the team playing hard for its manager? Is it playing fundamentally sound? Last year, one of the biggest criticisms of Aaron Boone was that the Yankees were not playing fundamentally sound, and in some ways, that is partly a reflection of the manager. But of course, when we look at these guys now, there are so many things to take into consideration as well. How much influence does the front office have? That's a pretty big question, and we don't ever seem to know the answers because there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And also, the different circumstances that managers face at each particular moment of their careers. For instance, Rocco Baldelli in the Twins situation. Rocco Baldelli's team collapsed at the end of last year, finished 12-27. That's what they were down the stretch, 12-27. So coming off that year, when they were probably the most talented team in the AL Central, and when they missed the playoffs, you would have wanted them to start strongly. They have not done that. That malaise from the end of last season has sort of extended into this season. And that's why Rocco Baldelli right now is under some scrutiny. There's a lot of other things going on with the Twins, the usual injury questions, but Baldelli is going to come into focus. Ollie Marmol in St. Louis, entirely different situation. He is under scrutiny, not just because of the team's performance last year necessarily, but really because they're undergoing a transition from John Mozeliak as the head of baseball operations to Chaim Bloom. And generally speaking, when a new man takes over, as Bloom will at the end of this season, that new man wants his own manager. That's just a dynamic that always takes place, frankly, in all walks of life, in all businesses. New boss comes in, wants his or her own people. So those are two different dynamics. And I also get into Shelton, and I get into some others. And again, you never know exactly how these things are going to turn out. We're early in the season. Maybe the Twins turn it around. Maybe Ollie Marmol shows Chaim Bloom, you know what? I should be the guy here. Even with Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina and Skip Schumacher all looming as potential replacements. The season will progress, storylines will develop, managers will either succeed or fail according to the results of their team. But again, this was something that I wanted to look at. It's something that is always interesting to talk about, and it's something that cannot be discussed. I'll repeat this, cannot be discussed without trying to understand the fuller contexts. In each case, there are different contexts, and in each case, different circumstances, and we'll see again how it all plays out as the season progresses. Time now for Grillin Ken. Let's get to your questions. First question comes from Ian, who asks, what kind of contract is Kyle Schwarber looking at given his power and age? Ian, this is one that is going to be a talking point all season and into the offseason. Kyle Schwarber is one of the elite home run hitters in the game. Yet, Kyle Schwarber next season is 33, so a 3-year deal would cover his ages 33, 34, and 35 seasons. You go to 4 years, that covers his age 36 season. I tried to find comps looking back a few years last night and considering this, and the one I came up with is Teo Hernandez. Now, Teo Hernandez, unlike Schwarber, is not a DH. He's an outfielder. He's not, I would say, an above-average outfielder, but he does give you some defensive value. Teoscar Hernandez, over the offseason, was a free agent and received a 3-year deal for $66 million. He's a year younger than Schwarber would be entering free agency. So he was entering his age 32 year as a free agent, Schwarber entering his age 33. Teoscar Hernandez, over the past 3 seasons, had a higher WAR than Schwarber did, mostly because he offered some defensive value and also was really good as an offensive performer. So that, to me, is kind of the range that Schwarber should be looking at. He's got a $20 million average annual value in his current deal, which was 4 years, $79 million. That to me would seem to be reasonable going forward. He certainly doesn't deserve a pay cut. He's had really good years for the Phillies. So I'm guessing 3 years, 65, 70 million, somewhere along those lines. I could be wrong, could be less than that. Maybe the Phillies don't want to go even to 3 years, but that to me would seem to be the range. We'll be back after a quick word from our friends at Foul Territory.
Toddfather, I'm looking for premium clothes at an affordable price. I want it to fit nice. I want it to make all the features that we want to point out look nice. And I want softness.
Yes.
What do I do?
You hit up True Classic. I mean, these shirts that I have on right now, not only is it fitting and it's soft, it makes my arms look a little bigger too as well. The comfort is all I ask for in clothing, and that's the biggest part. And this is what they have. The jeans are comfortable too as well. Everything that you put on right now from True Classic is special. It's something I'm going to buy in all different colors.
It's 100% perfect fit guarantee, easy returns, free shipping on all orders. And whether you're bundling up for the cold or you're getting ready for spring, you can level up your style with clothes that actually fit right. Just go to the FT exclusive link. That's trueclassic.com/foul to save. trueclassic.com/foul. Shop now and elevate your wardrobe today with trueclassic.com/foul.
Next question. This one comes from Mateo, who asks, why can't the Rangers hit at all? Mateo, the Rangers themselves are asking that question. They're asking that question because during the offseason, they brought in two guys that they thought would help transform their offense, Jock Peterson and Jake Berger. They also had Josh Young coming back. Evan Carter, to some degree, was going to be expected to do some things as well. They had Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. And they also signed Kyle Higashioka to help their offense. It hasn't happened. Right now, this team is 28th in the major leagues in runs, behind even the Chicago White Sox. That's right. The White Sox are averaging more runs per game than the Texas Rangers. And I want to show you just why this is happening, because some of those guys I just mentioned are not performing well at all. We can start with Jock Peterson, the big free agent addition, batting .070 with a .277 OPS. That would be more like what he would want his batting average to be. Semien, not doing much at all, hitting .123. Tavares, .205 batting average, .482 OPS. Jake Berger, .151 batting average, .484 OPS. Higashioka and even Corey Seager also performing well below their usual career norms. Obviously, some of this will regress to the mean in a positive way. These guys are going to hit. They've hit their whole careers. But when you ask, why can't they hit? I'm not sure of the answer there, but I can tell you what is happening so far, and it's simply that most of the players on this team are not performing to their usual levels. And finally, the last question comes from Bob Vanaman, who asks, I hope I pronounced that right, Bob, of all the celebrities you've met, who was the most baseball savvy? Now, Bob, in truth, I haven't met that many celebrities, but from time to time, I will run into one or two. I'll give you two from rock and roll and one from Hollywood. The two from rock and roll are Jack White and Eddie Vedder. Jack White is the part owner of a bat company. He is a huge baseball fan. He's from Detroit. He is someone who follows the game pretty seriously. And Eddie Vedder, you guys know, when the Cubs were really good in the mid-2010s, he'd often be hanging out in Joe Madden's office, sitting on the floor. He's a huge Cubs fan. He has been that way for a long time, very passionate about baseball. And the actor I'll give you is Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe, last year during the World Series, was seated kind of near where I was positioned for Fox. And he would come over and, he knows a lot about the game and was quite excited and passionate about what he was seeing from the Dodgers. So those are three that I've met. I haven't met, like I said, a whole lot more, but there are a lot of people who are not even celebrities, as well as celebrities, who are quite passionate about baseball in this country. That's why it's the national pastime. Well, even if it's not quite as popular as it used to be. I want to thank everyone for their questions. Thank you for watching, for listening. You know where to find us: YouTube, Apple, Spotify. We will be back Thursday at our usual time, 12:30 Eastern, live show, myself hosting with Alana Rizzo. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you then.
Let's shout out the BetMGM First Bet $1,500 offer when you use the bonus code FOUL. Get that offer when you download the BetMGM Sportsbook app or at BetMGM.com. Sign up, enter that bonus code FOUL, and deposit at least $10 into your new account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.